Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at this snowstorm which could be potentially impacting areas into the Great Lakes and into areas into the Mid-Atlantic and into the Ohio Valley with some snowfall. And we're going to be going over a couple of the different models as well as what the Weather Prediction Center is putting out as their probability of seeing a couple of inches of snowfall. And we're going to be going over that and many models, of course. I don't have my personal forecast at the end of the video today because we are a couple days out. We are about 3 to 5 days out from this event, so I don't want to put any official forecast out just yet because we really are uncertain. A couple hundred miles could move to the north or to the south, so I really don't want to put a forecast out just yet. But definitely, a couple models are already indicating this. Multiple of the major models are already showing this, so I do have a little bit more confidence than, let's say, other storms I would have had, and therefore I am making a video on this. I wouldn't have made a video on this if I don't think this has a chance of becoming a winter storm. And again, this can be impacting areas into the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and there even into the Mid-Atlantic and Appalachians. And we're going to be going over personally what I think, but just not represented on a map with the snowfall totals. Generally, where I think my the storm track is going to set up. Now, starting off with the National Weather Service, we have flood watches over Southern California. We talked about this event yesterday, which is going to be impacting areas into the southwest with quite a bit of rainfall compared to what you're used to. High wind warnings, in fact, for parts in northwest Montana. Winter weather advisory there. For northernmost Maine, you have had some fire danger over the past couple of days over the central United States. It does look like it's going to die down a little bit, but you still do have a couple of red flag warnings there for western Nebraska and into southern Colorado there. And other than that, quite quiet for much of the rest of the country in terms of your National Weather Service page and as well in terms of what you're seeing in terms of weather. Now, here's what the European model is indicating in terms of its precipitation forecast. Now, we see this band of rain move through the East Coast, and then you're going to see this next system start to develop. Now, the second wave of what we talked about a couple days, just yesterday, I believe, actually, that's going to be moving to the north and east from the southwest. We talked about this yesterday, but we only focused on the southwest. Now, this system is going to be moving, and according to many of these models, moving north and then taking pretty much a beeline to the east, and it's going to be moving across the eastern United States. Now, this would be by Thursday night. You see heavier rainfall starting to move through areas into Southern California, Arizona, and New Mexico. It starts to rise to the north as you get into Friday morning, and then getting through Saturday morning, you're starting to see snowfall actually breaking out there over many of the plains. You actually have this northern weaker piece of the jet stream. You are going to have actually an Arctic air mass. You have a that's going to come in earlier in the week. So this would be probably by Thursday, Friday, you're going to see the Arctic blast, and that'll set in place this northern piece of the jet stream along with the southern piece of the jet stream, which by this point would be in northeastern areas of New Mexico, and this can be moving to the east. Now, we will also have some severe weather implications with this, but I won't be going over that today. We'll just be focusing on where I think this snow is going to set up. Now, because you have this northern piece of the jet stream, you also have this southern piece of the jet stream being able to bring in some of this warm, moist, rich air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and mainly out of the Pacific, where you're getting some pretty good moisture to get fed in. You are going to be seeing quite a bit of rainfall, some severe weather, of course, and definitely if you are going to get severe weather, I think the heart of that severe weather will most likely be over Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, but don't rule out a couple of rumbles of thunder even a little bit further to the south. In terms of snow, the European wants to place that over the northern portion of the system like you usually see. This would be by Saturday morning. Now we're going to continue to move on here. Now let's get through Saturday night, and now you're seeing some of the snow start to move through Iowa, northern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then getting through southern Michigan there, and also southern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota. And you see actually a larger swath of snowfall. Now, these are two separate pieces. This is your northern piece. Again, you saw that Arctic air mass come through, and that's also leading to this snowstorm. It's also putting in that cold air in place for this system. That's your northern piece of the jet stream that was aiding out in the beginning portions. It's kind of split off, took a little bit of its energy, and now you have some pretty intense snowfall snowfall happening according to the European model, and we'll go over the GFS, which has it a little bit further to the south and doesn't have as many areas seeing some snowfall. We'll be going over that later, and we'll also look at your snowfall totals. Now, here, this would be by Sunday morning, and you're starting to see mainly rain for the coastal areas, but inland, just inland, you'll see some snowfall there for the northeastern Ohio Valley, and it's gonna get warmer as you get onto into Sunday. It's gonna be quite warm compared to your average, right around average to a little bit above average for the east. So definitely, that will help eat away at some of your snowfall potential. Now getting to Sunday afternoon, and it's pretty much all said and done with, and then you just have some rumbles of thunder there over the southeast. Now, here's what the GFS is showing, and mainly there's two different, the models are kind of agreeing or attaching to two different scenarios. Either the system moves further to the south, kind of like what the GFS is going to show, and you'll see that it's going to kind of slide to the south, and kind of most of the models actually have this dying down before it hits east of the Appalachians. So really, as you get into this area, according to many of the models, has a decent shot at least of seeing some snowfall. And again, this is 3 to 5 days out, so we still do have a little bit of discrepancy within the models. But there's two different models really. There's some of the models showing it further to south, and then there's what the European is showing a little bit further to the north. And of course, this is going to move around, and eventually we'll get a much clearer depiction on what's going to happen. And I will have probably another video out on this if this continues to stay in the models, and I'll probably have my snowfall forecast out on this if again this stays in the models. Now, here getting by Thursday, and now getting through Friday, you're seeing just rain ahead of this system. Here's your system come Friday night, and this is a little bit later than what the European was showing. This would be by Saturday morning. Heavier snowfall starting to break out over Nebraska, Kansas. The models are agreeing on this so far. They're agreeing on this area over Nebraska and Kansas and Missouri and Iowa as well, but they're not really agreeing. As you'll see most of the snow skims south of Chicago and Detroit, and just kind of skims just to the south of there. And your snow to rain transition line, according to the GFS, is somewhere over northern Missouri, southern and central Illinois, and then most likely would have moved through southern Indiana and Ohio. As you continue this, you start to see, again, this continues. Heavier snowfall breaking out just to the north of there, but this is a much further south solution. Now, also, something you want to take into account, I did see a couple of comments just about a week ago, I do believe. I believe last Tuesday, the GFS model. I scroll through many of the models, and I just take a look at them just to see what they're looking at, and scrolling a little bit longer range in the GFS model, last week you saw a monster blizzard. This would have been a blizzard if this were to play out. This is not going to play out anymore, but just to give you a little bit of reference, this would be a monster blizzard appearing over areas into really for the I-95 corridor, and you would have seen 20 to 40 inches of snowfall according to the GFS. That low pressure system was sitting right around east of about southern Virginia by that point, and it continued to move to the east. Now that same low pressure system is south of James Bay. So really look at that. That's about probably 1,000 miles in difference, and that was only about 5 days ago. So that could definitely change. I'm not saying that's going to be as drastic. That was one of the more drastic ones I've ever seen in terms of a model shift in just a couple of days. But definitely something like that can happen again. But we are closer to this event, so luckily I think this is going to be a little bit more certain that you're going to see somewhere within this area is really your jackpot for seeing at least a couple of inches of snow coat your grass. Now, as we continue this would be Sunday, and now it kind of dies down as you get past Sunday and Monday. You're just seeing another system develop, and here's actually that storm system all the way to the north there over south of James Bay. Now, here's what the European model is putting out in terms of its snowfall accumulation, and you're seeing in one of the grays, that's about 1/10 of an inch of snowfall to 2 inches of snowfall, 2 to 6 inches of snowfall in those blues, and then 6 to 10 inches in the purples. And if you do get into the pinks, that's about 10 to 20 inches. Lighter pinks getting 20 to 30 inches, and then 30 to 40 inches in those blues. So mainly those blues confined to the higher elevations of the mountainous west. But you are seeing those 2 to 6 inch amounts pop up there, according to the European model, along this really finger through Nebraska and all the way through into Pennsylvania. Really pretty much a straight line over those areas, seeing 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. And it's pretty easy to identify where this storm track would have been, kind of to the south of all this. And then warm air would overtake, and that's why you're not seeing any snowfall for these areas, because many people would think this is continuing to go in a straight line and it would just continue and you would get 2 to 6 inches for these areas as well. It's not really the case because you will have a little bit of that warming off the coast, and that'll help aid your temperatures a little bit warmer, and you'll probably stay in the 40s for many for much of this snowfall, all the way up until about northern Maine. You're not seeing too much snowfall out of this event. Now, here's what the GFS is showing, and you're seeing a very light accumulation, tenth of an inch to 2 inches over many of these areas, and then a couple pockets according to the GFS, very scattered over northern Missouri, southern Illinois. And this definitely most likely won't happen to this exactly, but somewhere between Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois, according to the GFS, putting a jackpot of about 2 to 3 inches as well there for central Ohio, and then through Pennsylvania, the mountainous areas of Pennsylvania, through mountainous Maryland, West Virginia, and into northwestern areas of Virginia, seeing maybe 2 to 6 inches, or 2 to 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of snowfall over some remote areas. Now, here's what the Storm Prediction Center, or the Weather Prediction Center, is putting out as far as their chances of seeing 2.5 inches or a quarter of an inch of liquid precipitation changing over to snow or sleet, and that would basically indicate, if you're using a 10-to-1 ratio, which is the most standard ratio, that would be about 2.5 inches of snowfall. So it's basically a more complicated way of them saying 2.5 inches. In this scenario, I think that's probably going to be right around 2 to maybe 1.5 inches. You will have a bit of a warmer atmosphere. Of course, it is March. You're going to start to get those longer days. Daylight saving times has already passed, so you are going to be getting those longer days, and of course, that's going to help bring your temperatures warmer, much warmer, like you've seen over the eastern United States. You were in the 70s and 60s and 50s, getting very far to the north. So a very mild day for the past couple of days, and that's also going to help moisten up the environment. And when that happens, you get lower snowfall ratios, so you actually get less snowfall than you would perhaps if you were in a colder environment. And I think that's going to happen. So look at this for about an inch to an inch and a half of liquid snowfall. So you're seeing maybe 20 to 40, 50% chance there over Nebraska and Kansas. And I think that area should probably be in a 50 to 70, a 70 to 50, or 70 to 90% chance there. Now, as we get this, that would have been for Saturday. Now, let's get into your Sunday. And Sunday, it's going to be much more scattered. Looking at this, just a couple minutes ago, we were looking at maybe just 10 to 30% chance. Very scattered areas here. So definitely, the Weather Prediction Center does look like they're taking a little bit more of a northern track, like the European is showing a little bit more to the north, as you can tell by where this green is popping up further to the north, and their confidence is low. They don't like to put crazy amounts in their 4 to 7 day forecast. They like to restrain that to their 1 to 3 day forecast. So definitely they'll most likely update this, and I assume these percentages will increase if this continues to stay in the models, and I'll most likely have another update on this come out in just a couple of days if this stays in the models. Now that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turn on notifications so you never miss this video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.